back to Vegas, October 1 Sounds, the Hunter Chronicles. Tonight we're going to be going in-depth into the lock interrogation reports for the time period of September 29th, 2017, beginning at 43 minutes past the hour of midnight and going until 2:35 a.m. This is the primary major conflict for the 29th that disagrees with the FIT report, which has paddock gambling from the previous night till 6 a.m. And so these lock interrogation report events bear great significance for the 29th, for the credibility of the FIT report, for the credibility of the lock interrogation report, and for the overall lone wolf narrative. Because after all, if you get this wrong, what else don't you get wrong? And if the FIT report is true, namely that he was gambling all evening, then there's a lot of explaining to do as to who and what was in his room and what they were doing. In this video, I will focus almost exclusively on trying to interpret these events as though Paddock was the only one generating them. And from that presentation, which is predominantly graphical in nature, we will see where the flaws in that theory may poke their head out. That is, let's attempt to make the lone wolf narrative true, even though, you know, overall I don't believe it is. But in so doing, we'll expose some of the fundamental flaws. First, we have to set the context, and the context is this segment of orange there between two periods of gambling. And as you can see, there had to be an elevator trip up, an elevator trip down. The orange line there below the gambling is the MGM video from Rangoon's. When he entered his room at 43 minutes past midnight, he used one of the cards from Group 5A. And as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 groups, maybe 5 groups, depending upon how you look at it, of activity in this chunk of time. And the other thing to note specifically is that in the Rangoon video, he was wearing a brown shirt, and the next time we see him, which is close to 3:30, he was wearing a white shirt. So obviously he changed shirts during the time in his room. Now the question becomes, why did he even go to his room to begin with? Why did he take a break from gambling? Why did he change his shirt? And what was happening in the room? So let's take and look at the lock interrogation report events themselves. Now, as you can see, I take the lock interrogation reports from that period of time, which again starts at 12:43 and ends at 2:35 a.m. and I break them into 4 groups. The first group is simply entering the room and locking the door. The last group is exiting, and in between we have 3 openings of the doors, 2 of which are closely grouped together and could signify a slightly different series of events than had they been spread apart. Overall, this takes, you know, a little more than 2 hours, and he will show you the time between the blocks and the white shirt and the brown shirt, the entry time and the exit time. And then we can look where all these little green arrows are and ask the question, who entered, who left, what was delivered, what was Paddock doing, you know, just what was going on here, because there's a number of obvious places where people could come and go from the room. And as you can see, it's about 2 hours total duration time from 12, yeah. And that's the primary question: who, what, when, where, and why. We don't have any clear idea why Paddock went up there. We only have the lock interrogation events and the fact that he changed his shirt and his habits and patterns overall. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And in these cases, I took the time to lay out a floor plan. Now this floor plan is still a work in progress. You know, I'm missing a few things. For example, the tub chairs, I haven't quite put them in yet, up there on the top near the table. But overall, I've tried to make this architecturally accurate so that in future videos we could do some deep analysis to scale, and I feel that's important. So here we have Paddock coming up the hallway at 43 minutes past midnight. He goes up, uses his card 5A. It's accepted. He opens the door and goes in, and then the door closes and he locks it, and that's what the red overall scheme was. Now he'll be doing something for the next 14 minutes, which we don't know. I conjecture that he changed his shirt here. It would kind of make sense. I conjecture that he doesn't have anybody with him, but he could have. So in this case, beneath the thing, you'll see me, I have him running over to the shower. So the room remained locked for 14 minutes. And did he want privacy from everyone? Or was somebody in the room with him and he wanted privacy for 15 minutes? I favor interpreting it as he wanted privacy from everyone, that he had to get something done, namely take a shower, change his shirt, and get dolled up for some reason. That's why you see him over there. And at 14 minutes, you know, boy, I could never get a shower done in 14 minutes unless I was rushed. When I want to take a shower, and I take a long shower, but you know, everybody's different. So what questions can we ask? Why did he stop gambling? You know, when he gambles, and he gambles for long periods of time, particularly in these evening hours. Why did he have to stop gambling and go up to his room? And on his way up to his room, he stopped at Ragoon's and he looked for something. At least that's what it appears to be. But he never purchased anything. So what was he looking for? Or was that just kind of a hangout until somebody could meet him? Then, like I said before, normally he gambles through the evening. And the entry into the room looks pretty normal. He went up, he opened the door, and then closed it. But why just for 14 minutes? And as I conjectured earlier, maybe he's showering. And you know, obviously if he was in the shower, he wouldn't want anybody staff-wise to surprise him, so he would naturally lock the door. And again, you know, why lock the door at all? You know, who can get in? If he's got both cards, the only people that can get in is staff. But they would knock first. Or are they bringing something up where they won't knock? And if so, what is it? You know, earlier on I conjectured that it was the refrigerator, but I don't really know. I favor the refrigerator being delivered in the noonie shower, but you know, I could go back and forth. Alright, let's take a look now at the next period of time. Oh, and did he make contact with someone while he was gambling or at Rangoon's that prompted him to go to his room at this time? And if so, where are they? Are they in the videotapes that we aren't shown for the elevator ride up, or for the center core, or even out on the floor? The only one we see prior to his going up to the room is the Rangoons, and it's such a narrow view that it's kind of hard to, you know who was or was not with him. So we are 14 minutes later. I have him wearing his white shirt, and it's 57 minutes past the hour, and he's going to, you know, go on down there to the door, unlock it, open it up, And it appears to me that it stays open for a little bit before he lets it close, and then he will, open it again as though something came in and then something went out. And these are pretty subjective. The timing on these lock interrogation reports is 1 minute resolution, and so depending upon exactly where you start your activity, you could easily get all the activity both door opens in 1 minute, or you could start your activity towards the tail end of 1 minute and lap over into the next minute, even though it would only take 10 or 15 seconds to complete the whole actions. But on the other hand, in this lock interrogation report, most of the times in which there is a minute change between opens and closes, it's been where say he brought some luggage in, or a bellhop was there, or the food services was there. But yet we have no food services for this hour of the evening. The only thing we have, the refrigerator, but it's never specified what time. So exactly what's going on up here, I'm not sure. But obviously something is, and obviously there's some intent to break through his normal gambling habit hours and come up to the room for 2 hours and change his shirt. All right. So after the door closes, then we've got another period of time. But let's talk about what all this action could be. He was there, and 14 minutes earlier he had gone into the room and locked it. And we've got lots and lots of possibilities. There could have been something delivered, as I talked about. There could have been people coming and or going. Or did he just need to look into the hallway for some reason? From this point forward, the door remains unlocked, meaning he's got essentially no privacy. Anybody holding a proper card access key could walk in on him, either staff or if he had given a card away. But there is that distinction between he needs privacy at the start, but now he doesn't. So, it kind of favors staff being there, but I can't think of any reason where, well, I can think of one, and I'll go into that in another video, where I lay out, the 4 or 5 major scenarios that fit these facts. I don't want to go into it in great deal in this video because it just gets too long and complicated. Was he peeking out the door twice? I don't know. I don't think so. Perhaps he was putting out a do not disturb sign. I don't think so, again, because locking the door would be far better than putting the sign out. All right. The one thing you can say for sure, though, is this action seemed deliberate. He broke habit. He changed his shirt. He's doing multiple door openings. There's periods of time between there. All these things seem deliberate. But he doesn't require privacy except for the first 14 minutes. So what could he be doing for 2 hours without privacy? It's a darn good question. All right, so here we are back now. And this will be another group of events at 1:30 a.m. And all he'll do is simply one opening and closing. Again, it's hard to decipher whether that's something going in or something going out, or him peeking out or some delivery being made. But there it is at 1:30. Now that was 32 minutes after the first 2 door opens. So again, he went up to the room, he entered, he locked it, he was doing something privately for 14 minutes, and then we had 2 door openings, and now there was a 32-minute gap after those door openings, and here we have another door opening. If he had invited a guest up, they may have left, but why just for 32 minutes? Seems kind of short no matter what I could contemplate. And why in the middle of the night? I don't know. He's going to return to gambling in another hour. So what's this all about? And what was keeping him in the room? If he'd gone up there just to receive, say, for example, a delivery of a refrigerator, then the minute the refrigerator was delivered, he would have left. And given that it was the middle of the night and somebody would have had to contact him for the delivery, they certainly would have gotten it done in far less time than 2 hours. So I see. That's why I don't think the delivery of something alone is sufficient to explain all the actions, because you're not going to stop gambling in the middle of the night and then wait for 2 hours for them to get the job done. That would just be completely unacceptable to a VIP guest. So we either have multiple things going on, or some weird activity, or maybe it was a combination of a delivery of something, which we don't know, and a guest. You know, it's just all kind of mixed and mashed. But something was keeping him there for more hours. And you could say that, well, you know, the coast, maybe he called someone and told them the coast is clear earlier. And this is, but then, you know, why didn't he call him up earlier? You see, it's all kind of fuzzy. But there's certainly a lot of activity going on there. And then the next activity occurs 65 minutes later. And here he is. He's at the door. This is at 2:35 a.m. He opens it up. Yeah, that was a train. It's loud and it's noisy. Anyway, he opens it up. We're at 2:35 a.m. And then he vacates in his shirt to go back down gambling. All right. So it's been 65 minutes since the last door opening. What was he doing for those 65 minutes? Who was he with? And now that he's leaving, is it just him or somebody else leaving too? And this must be an exit for him, because the next thing we see him doing is gambling. Was someone left in the room sleeping? And if they were, then their opportunity for leaving the room is either at 6 a.m. when Paddock returns, or when he leaves for lunch near 12:20. So what did he do in those 65 minutes, and with whom? Is it possible that he changed his shirt, you know, in the latter portion of that for some reason? You know, it's the sky's wide open here. The door's wide open. The barn door's left open. Every time Paddock opens that door when he's up there, anything can happen. And without further information, it's kind of hard to nail it down. And the only thing we can say for sure is that he probably left at 2:35 a.m. and he was wearing his white shirt when he left. Oh, thank God that train is by. All right. So in summary, the lock interrogation events that we just looked at could be interpreted in many different ways. And there is further analysis of all the surrounding and contextual things is going to be required to narrow down what was potentially happening. Now, it's clear that something motivated Paddock to stop gambling, go to his room early in the morning and change his shirt. And he would later return to gambling. And while Paddock was in the room, he appears to have had guests or deliveries made to the room. You know, and that's all kind of strange. Right there in the middle of the night, in the time in which he enjoys gambling, when the activity in the casino is, you know, reached a pretty good low, and then he needs this privacy only for the first 14 minutes, and then total time in there in his room is about 2 hours, but he doesn't require privacy for most of it. So we've got lots of questions here, but it's very, very clear from these events that something significant was going on, and the possibilities are endless. All right. Well, with that, we'll catch you in the next one.